Have you ever picked up a game for just a couple of dollars somewhere and maybe you look at the reviews and they're not so great? You know, it's kind of a middle of the road, mediocre game, or maybe it's just terrible. That for some reason you are compelled to dive in and give it a shot. And even though the game is just objectively bad by many metrics, to you, it's just a masterpiece. It is just an unbelievably good game, and you can't put your finger on it because it shouldn't be good. It should be bad. Hey guys, I'm RNG Gamer. I play all my games randomly, and here are the best terrible games I've ever played. First up, we probably have the most famous example of this, a game that was very divisive when it came out. Every review I saw of it was either a 1 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. And that game is Deadly Premonition. I remember seeing the IGN review of this the day it came out, and even though it was on the Xbox 360, they said it looked like a bad PlayStation 2 game. And they're not wrong. The controls are really clunky, they don't really work. It's awkward and stilted to move around, and just aiming and shooting is a chore. Not only that, the enemies are all just copied and pasted over and over again. You're basically fighting the same thing through the whole game. The main character is a schizophrenic, and he talks to himself the entire game about random crap, non-stop. And he talks about real movies. He will talk about like watching Reservoir Dogs by Quentin Tarantino or other B-grade horror movies. And he carries on this internal monologue, especially as you're just traversing around the open world or driving. And it's absolutely hilarious, but it's so dumb. It serves no purpose to advance the story or anything. It's just hours of recorded ranting. Really, that's all it is. I mentioned driving around in this game, and you have to drive everywhere you go. There's no fast travel, so you have to find the location of your destination on the map, and the map is hard to read, and it's difficult to even discern where you're supposed to go, and you can't even do something as simple as making a left-hand turn without crashing into something. The car basically has a flat tire, and it's just always pulling to the right the entire game. The story is so far-fetched and nonsensical that I can't even put into words what it's like to play it. You're investigating a serial killer who's a copycat killer from these murders that happened several decades ago in this town. And you meet these interesting characters, and they kind of help you, sort of. They mainly just ride with you and talk with you as you get to some location at which you have a psychotic episode and have to shoot down a bunch of dead bodies and ghosts that don't really exist, so the combat's not really even happening. And instead of really investigating, the main character just sort of intunes what is happening through self-actualization and staring into coffee cups. It gives a similar feel to the TV show Twin Peaks, which is really the main influence of this game. But there's really not anything to say that's great about this game. The controls are bad. The graphics are bad. The combat is clunky and weird. Navigating around the town is a chore. The music is bizarre and doesn't fit with the game whatsoever. The story is fractured and basically doesn't have a good flow to it. You're lost all the time, and there are these extreme difficulty spikes all over the game. All the makings of a terrible experience. Yet, for some reason, and no one can really put their finger on it, Deadly Premonition is like a 10 out of 10 masterpiece game, and I don't know why. Up next, we have a game from a notorious series. It's basically just a fan service game, and there's no reason it should be good whatsoever. It's Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash. Right on the box of this game, it says, no shirts, no shoes, all service. And this game is a team-based arena shooter with a bunch of girls having a water gun fight. And the whole premise of the game is that you just do this to work your way through some tournament that's happening at these girls' ninja school or something like that. I can't quite even remember. But you just unlock new guns and new, cuter outfits for the girls, and you just play dress up. That's what this game was designed to do. Be dress up for cute girls. and wet t-shirts. But somehow the developers made a really fun and compelling third-person shooter. Running around the arenas is a blast. They have really good level design. There's lots of interesting choke points. The game is fast and hectic, and all the water splashing around is really cool. It's basically like Splatoon in a way, but with cute girls instead of squid people. But there's no reason that this game should be any good. But the developers of Senran Kagura, they just managed to keep making fun games. And I don't know why. Back before I even knew what a walking simulator game was, I saw this game on Steam that had incredible reviews. It looked really intriguing. I downloaded it on my PC and I played it one cloudy and rainy Sunday morning, all alone at my house, and I spent the whole time terrified. And that game is Gone Home. This game was made in the same engine as Amnesia: The Dark Descent. And if you were around when that game came out, everybody was considering it to be the scariest game ever made. So Gone Home looks terrifying. The game looks scary, it just does. And it feels like any minute something is going to jump out and scare the ever-loving crap out of you. You're a college student, you're coming home for some holiday or spring break or something, but your parents have moved. So you're coming home to a new house you've never been to before. You get there, mom and dad are gone. Little sister's gone. So you're just walking around this empty house with this creepy lighting, and you're looking at little clues to try to figure out what happened. And you don't really even interact with the clues at all. Like, you're mainly just looking at notes on the refrigerator. Maybe you'll open a drawer here and there, but you start piecing together the story of what actually happened. And it turns out, spoiler warning, nothing scary ever occurs in the entire game. There are no other characters. There's no combat. There's really no even picking up or using items. There's not even really any dialogue. There's essentially no gameplay in this game. It really is the definition of a walking simulator. The game subverts your expectations, and even though there's no gameplay and nothing really even happens in the game, it's still one of the most memorable and influential experiences I've ever had playing a game. People loved this game, but it's not even really a game. You would almost get the same experience watching someone else play it. There's nothing really like Gone Home, and I think it's a truly remarkable and amazing game, even though you don't do anything and nothing happens. It shouldn't be as compelling as it is. Up next, we have a game made famous by the angry video game nerd. It's considered to be one of the worst games of all time. It's very expensive, it's hard to get, it's a holy grail for a lot of people. And it is truly a terrible game that I had one of the best nights of gaming of my entire life playing. It's Action 52. So this game was released on the NES, and it was touted as having 52 games on the cart, and I believe it retailed for $200 in the early 90s, which is insanely expensive for a game. But when Nintendo games were going for $50 a piece, getting 52 of them was supposed to be like the best deal of all time. Of course, we know it's not, because the producer of this game just hired some like college student to slap 52 games together as fast as they could, and then just dumped it on the public. Half the games don't work. They all look really bad and dumb. Mechanics are strange. They're super clunky. The draw of this game, the main event, is cheat 'em in, and you soft lock yourself on like stage 3, where when you beat the boss, the game doesn't register that you beat the boss and there's nothing you can do about it. It's so bizarre that this ever got a release, and I played this with one of my good friends one night, and we had an absolute blast with it. So much fun. We went through every game and played them together. It was jank. It was garbage. It was a golden evening. I would liken it to going to see a terrible B-grade movie marathon, where you go into it with no expectations of it being good. You just want to enjoy the experience of being surrounded by terribleness. And that's what this game is. It's a video game marathon of a bunch of games that would not even qualify for being 99-cent downloads on a cell phone marketplace. But one of the interesting things about it is the guy that developed these games, or the kid or whoever it was, you could tell he just started running out of ideas after about like 20 games, and he just started slapping together weird flipping assets and random crap just to get a product out. And if you throw enough crap at the wall, some of it's gonna stick. And there are a few games in this that were pretty decent, maybe not in terms of gameplay, but in terms of visuals and like music and just general enjoyment. This game commands a high price to buy physically, but I kind of think it's worth it. Believe it or not, despite the fact that it's like a couple hundred or a few $100s even now, maybe it's worth $400, I don't know. But if any person out there was like, I want to come over and sit down and let's play Action 52, I would be like, yes, absolutely 100%, let's do that right now. I would probably want to do that more than playing any other game I can think of. There's nothing like playing Action 52 at all. If you've never gotten to experience it, find you a good buddy, sit down, and play through these 52 games one evening. I can almost guarantee you will have a fantastic time. One of my least favorite genres of video games of all time, it might be my least favorite, it's definitely the one that I am the least excited to ever play, is the 3D platformer collectathon. But everybody told me that I had to play this game. It looked like it was made for a 6-year-old. Even my daughter said it looked like a kid's game. I popped it in, immediately hated it, but boy, did that game win me over. It's a Hat in Time. You play as this little girl who's on a spaceship, which is powered by time, I guess, I don't know. And the fuel for the ship gets stolen away and converted into these little hourglasses. And you have to go through various semi-open world 3D environments, solving puzzles and collecting things and platforming around and having clunky combat. The game looks like a GameCube game to me, even though it came out, I don't know, 18, 20 years after the GameCube did. You'll clip through walls, you miss platforms, your shadow isn't really where you think it is when you try to land on these platforming challenges. You miss half the time. It can get really frustrating and it can wear on you not being able to do something simple like jump up the branches of a tree. There's all this crap scattered around the stages. The enemy design is childish, as is the main character design, and the story is childish. But for some reason, the environments and the things that happen, the set pieces in the game, they won me over. The main character doesn't even talk. She's a silent protagonist, and her face is barely animated, yet she has a ton of charisma. It is a really memorable main character. I don't even know how that's possible. The game was so buggy that there were parts where I felt like I was gonna get soft locked. At one point you go through a survival horror game section and this big baddie is chasing you around and it's pretty tense to stay away from him. And you have to stealth around this mansion looking for these key fragments. And one of the key fragments is on the canopy of a bed in the master bedroom upstairs. And whenever I walked into that room, the game glitched out and the entire picture would zoom down to like 30 pixels in the corner of the screen, and I could not see what was going on. And I had to just randomly bounce around till I hit the key piece off the top of the canopy and picked it up. It snuck away, all while being pursued in this really tight time limit from this monster that was trying to kill me. Yet I was totally fine with that, like that's fine. It took me a couple hours to be able to do it. And it wasn't from my lack of skill, it was because the game was so buggy it just didn't work. And I was able to overlook that, even though most games I would just throw under the bus for something like that. All the environments are really unique and different from each other. The story's childish, but like intriguing, and you want to see the main character succeed, and you also want to see how the villains are gonna screw her over. There's nothing about this game that should put it in the running with any of the other great 3D platformers that have ever been made. And there's nothing about it that should put it above them, yet for me, it's one of the best ones that I've ever played that isn't like a Mario game. And I don't know why that is. This game, and I can't put my finger on it, there's nothing specifically about A Hat in Time that makes it a good game. but it's a great game. It's just a great game. If you haven't played it, you can pick it up really cheaply. Give it a shot. I'm pretty sure you'll love it. Up next, we have a game that I picked up from Limited Run Games because it had good reviews. I liked the cover of the game. Came home to discover that it's basically just a freaking walking simulator done in like a 16-bit style by one guy who made the game in RPG Maker? What? And that game is To the Moon. Not really much happens in To the Moon. You play as a couple of scientists that are employed by this company that essentially fulfills your dying wish when you're on your deathbed. And there's this old man, he's dying, and this team gets brought in to fulfill his wish. And that wish is he wants to go to the moon. But of course, there's no way to make that happen. And this company is actually, in a way, kind of a scam. They don't take you to the moon. They don't fulfill your wish. Instead, they hook you up into a VR system. Go into your memories and alter your memories to make you feel like you had already done it in the past. So the goal is incept a memory into this guy and give him memories of being on the moon. But while they're in there digging through his past, they discover this story of lost love and confusion and mental illness and all the struggles people go through in their life. And they have to kind of relive those with him and make alterations to them to give him his final wish, which they discover isn't really what he wants. There's really no gameplay. There's some minor puzzles that you go through just like talking to people and answering questions. And the game looks like it's made in RPG Maker, you know, so it doesn't really stand out. The music's very good, but you're not really doing very much. And for 85% of this game, I was not really having a good time. I could tell that they were trying to make the story very emotional and they were trying to draw me in. But truthfully, I just didn't care. However, the last 15% of this game, boy, they turn on the waterworks. This game has one of the best endings of anything I've ever seen. Books, movies, theater productions, video games. It is so well done that it actually broke my heart. I cried at the end of this game. It was so unique, and even though I felt like I knew what the big twist was going to be, I was wrong. The big twist doesn't involve the story. The big twist involves your emotions. And I don't know of another game that has ever pulled that off. They didn't pull a bait and switch. They actually got me to change how I felt. Get in an argument with somebody and try to make them feel the way you do when they don't want to? Has that ever worked? Can you remember an argument where you were able to convince the other person to see things your way? I can't really remember one. Yet this game managed to do that. That's a testament to how well this game was written and put together, even though it's a freaking 16-bit, over-the-top walking simulator. How? How did they do that? How did they convey that much emotion when the characters don't even look really like real people? How are you so invested in someone that doesn't speak and you only read their dialogue? I don't know, but you should play this game and see if you feel the same way I did. When I first started collecting and playing games again, it was at the very beginning of the Xbox 360 era. And I, like many people, got addicted to achievement hunting. And I did something that I am not proud of at all, and I regret doing it. And that is, I Googled the easiest games to get 1,000 gamer score on. And I went through and played a bunch of those games. And the only reason anyone bought this game was to get the 1,000 gamer score. Darkest of Days. This game has an incredibly cool premise. You play as some dude from the past, and at the moment of his death in a battle, he's snatched away and brought to the future, where he is quickly told he needs to go back to the past and alter history by shooting people with machine guns. So the game gives you these modern weapons and then sends you to these battles from history like Custer's Last Stand, World War II, all kinds of weird stuff. And as you're mowing people down with these anachronistic weapons, you will see various persons that are glowing yellow. And these are characters that are significantly important to history. You can't touch them, you can't hurt them, you can't mess with them. If you do, you screw up the timeline forever and you don't get what you need. The other people, they don't matter. Like unload into an entire cavalry unit with like an SMG and just watch them fall, no big deal. But don't shoot General Custer, right? His hubris has to bring him down. You can't do it for him. The environments are kind of boring. The character models don't look good. The shooting mechanics are absolutely as clunky as you would ever imagine. The objectives they give you are just like, walk over to this edge of the map and shoot these people, then walk over to this edge of the map and then shoot these people. And you're jumping around to various time points that really don't seem to have any bearing on each other. It's just like a poorly executed idea that it sounds like two guys came up with while trying to keep each other awake on a road trip. What kind of game would you make? Dude, what if you just had like a modern soldier that took like machine guns back to old battles? They presented that at a board meeting somewhere and some company greenlit it. That's what happened. It's not even really that fun to play, and it's extremely easy. There are a lot of like combat encounters that feel like they're supposed to be challenging, and you just like snipe the dude from like 300 yards away and it's just over. Like you don't even see him up close. But it's one of the most memorable experiences I had playing on the Xbox 360. I don't remember any of those other games that I played to get the 1000 gamer score really easily, but this one for some reason stands out, and I think about it all the time. It's a truly remarkably terrible and stupid game, but I love it. Did any of you ever play this? Has any other person on the face of the earth ever played this game other than just to get the 1000 gamer score? I've never met a single one. Let me know down in the comments if that actually has ever happened. If you're enjoying the content and you want to see more of me, consider hitting that subscribe button. New videos come out every Saturday morning, and hit that bell notification so you know right when they drop. Give me a like, that's the best way to help me with the YouTube algorithm, and leave a comment. I'm still answering every single one of them right now. We'll see how long that keeps lasting. This next section is brought to you by channel member Panels, Pages, Pixels. Thank you so much for your support. My favorite genre of video games are shoot 'em ups. I love them. I love shmups. There's so many cool things about them. Having really tight gameplay, having multiple stages where you have to learn to route your way through and gain the reflexes to actually dodge the bullets, working for a really high score to show off to other people. And this game really has none of those things. It's Task Force Campus. I will say this game has some absolutely stunning visuals. They're very striking, and the developer of this game has put out many other shoot 'em ups, and they all have similar looks to them. But this doesn't even feel like a full game. This feels like a mini game you would unlock in a larger, better game. First of all, this game is really simple. You just shoot the enemies and try to grab the little falling dudes for score multipliers. I mean, it looks like any other shoot 'em up, but it's missing some things that are really important. The first of which are levels. It's just one long, continuous level all the way through. And I say long, but that's not really true. This game is only about like 8 or 10 minutes long, and then after that, it just loops again. It just keeps going. Yeah, it increases the difficulty on each loop, but not that much. I could pretty much play this game just indefinitely on my very first try. I popped in this game on like the normal difficulty. I just went and went and went and went and went and went and went. And the only reason I stopped was just because I had to like go cook dinner for everybody. The next time I played, I bumped it up to hard, no issues. I got the 1 credit clear on this game on hard on like my first try. Despite the fact that this game tries to like give you patterns that seem impossible to dodge, and the screen shakes and wobbles all around, and it's difficult to even see what's happening, and they put the little falling guys in bad spots that like lead you into enemy gunfire, It's all really basic, and it really does feel like a mini game from another game. You can play as different characters and different ships. They're supposed to really change up the gameplay, and I guess they kinda do, maybe. But if you can do it with one of them, you can do it with all of them. And since you can just loop the game infinitely, pretty much, the high score is really pointless. It's just like how much time you're willing to put into the game to get that high score. I have a feeling like if I could stay up for 5 days, I could be the highest scorer in the world. So it's missing all the things that make a shmup great. Challenging gameplay, routing levels, getting a high score. But for some reason, that's like a breath of fresh air. This game is just so relaxing to play as a shoot 'em up. Instead of your brain going through like all these complex permutations of how to dodge and where this next enemy is going to come down. And I know this next pattern is going to be this wave pattern with directed bullets and also random bullets, and I have to be ready for that. Dude, you just sit back, you get into this flow state, you enjoy the pretty colors, you enjoy the really awesome music, and you just play till you don't want to play anymore. It's a fantastic experience. It is like an 8 or a 10-minute long game, and I paid $40-something for it, and it was worth every single penny. Well, all right, guys, there were 8 terrible games that were really great games. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, all those sort of things. Let me know if you liked this format. We can do more of these videos. I was just trying to think of something fun to do. Like I said, I want to thank you, and I want to take this as an opportunity to thank the channel members. You can see their names on the screen right now. If you'd like to become a channel member or a Patreon, it's the same thing. You can find the links in the description down below. For as little as 99 cents, you can get access to the videos early, you get exclusive access to member videos, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff you can do if you'd like to. Watching the videos and subscribing and liking and commenting is the best thing you can do. But if you want to do a little bit more, I would very much appreciate it. So thank you so much, guys, for all the support. I couldn't do it without you, and I'll catch you guys next time.